right, welcome again to another LCA webinar series. I'm here with my brother Nick Baldwin from New Jersey. Say hi, Nick.
What's up?
Nice shirt, Nick.
Tristan and I clearly called ourselves. We called ourselves
Let me shut this one down over here. Hold
to
on.
make sure we were wearing the same T-shirt.
Nice. All right, today we've got Kevin and Don. Both of them are longtime friends of ours, and both of them happen to be great brokers. Kevin runs an independent brokerage, Marker Real Estate, and Don runs a RE/MAX up in Upland, California. Kevin, you're in San Francisco. Sorry about that. But both of them are incredibly successful. I mean, I'm not even going to get into how successful they are, but I know I met Kevin about 3 years ago, Kevin, and then Don, I met you about 2 years ago, right?
Yep, and it's been major growth for LCA, LabCut agents, and it's been exciting to see all the great information. It's been integral to my success too, and I want to say thank you to both you and Nick.
Oh, thanks, man. That's super sweet. You've got a little bit of a static, but other than that, we're fine. We're going to get right into it because we've got 1 hour, but a lot of great questions because I want to get into systems and things that have worked for you, for both of you, because both of you guys make a lot of money and you're really, really successful. So question number one is, let's start off with Kevin. Okay. All right, Kevin, you're first, buddy. Since I met you first, you're first.
Cool.
We need to know why you wanted to start a brokerage. What made you think you just wanted to do that? Why?
Well, I was doing a lot of online lead generation starting out. I did a lot of that, and that's how you and I have become friends. We do a lot of similar things. So I felt like I was doing a lot myself. I was generating a lot of leads on my own. I was doing, bringing in a lot of my own deals, and I felt like a lot of brokerages have fees and different things that they charge, and nickel and diming here and there, and I just kind of felt like, what's the value proposition? What's the value proposition that this brokerage is offering me? And so how can we do something differently where we can start a brokerage and actually provide provide value to the agents that are part of the brokerage? And so with us, it's online. We do a lot of lead generation. So I feel like a lot of times the focus is on the big brand. I'm going to list your home with you because I'm with this brand. This brand's going to do this for you and do that for you, which is, there may be some truth to that, but I think at the end of the day, people are they want to connect with you as an individual. They want to connect you with you as a person, and the brand and the company and everything else comes secondary. So I was doing lots of lead generation, and so that's what we provide as a value proposition to our agents. And we've had agents that have come in their first year from 0 transactions, never done a single real estate transaction in their life, and doing $10 million in volume through the leads that we provide.
So, Kevin, question for you, because you run an independent brokerage, right? So it's just yours. It's called Marker Real Estate in San Francisco. What made you choose to run your own versus like Don's running a RE/MAX? What made you just go on your own?
For me, it was just more of the freedom. I just enjoy being free to be able to do kind of the things that I want to do, not being limited by certain branding, for me, it was more of wanting to do something different, wanting to do something on my own, kind of go out independently, and trying to kind of just go for it. And I looked at different models, and I feel like we have a really great system that we've been lucky enough and been put together where there's not a whole lot of overhead, yet we're bringing in doing a huge amount of volume with limited overhead. So I think one of the value propositions of being with a larger firm is they cover a lot of the cost, whereas the way we've set up our model is there's not a lot of costs. So and I get to run it and operate it the way that I want. I don't have to pay additional fees, and I think we have a really great culture within our brokerage. So that's really it's the freedom of operating a company on my own, which is what I love to do. So that's to answer your question. That's really
nice.
what.
Good answer.
I love it, Kevin. Hey, Kevin, I got a question. It's interesting because my wife has said to me a few times, she's like, why don't you just start your own brokerage? Why don't you start your own brokerage? I think there's also like this stigma that comes along with it. Like a lot of agents think, oh, there's no money in it, or you just have to like, wrangle all these agents and, so on and so forth. And I love your value proposition of generating leads for your agents. I mean, I run my own team, and that's one of the value propositions that we do is we try to generate as many leads as possible for them so they can just go and deal with the client and close the deal. But with that said, I'm just curious what your biggest challenge is when you were opening your brokerage. Like what are some of the things that you would tell agents that are thinking of doing it to watch out for, and what they should kind of keep in mind?
The biggest challenge probably, I mean, it's not anything crazy. I mean, it's just like putting everything together, like getting your branding, getting your pieces, your material, which it's not that challenging. Okay. Like it just takes a little bit of time to do it. That's one. The other part of it is, we didn't have a tough time bringing agents on. Like it's not difficult. I mean, we have a really great value proposition. So that's that. A lot of people think, oh, I need to be with this big company. I think there's a big misconception in our industry where people feel like they need to be with a big company and have all these like fancy marketing pieces. In my opinion, the fancier, the glossier the paper, the worse the deal. So I feel like connecting with people individually, one-on-one is priority, which people really care about is connecting with someone on an individual human level. But so as far as challenges, is probably putting those pieces together and then building the right systems, which I already kind of had in place, but being able to take those from like an individual agent standpoint, like team perspective, and then bring them in as from the broker's perspective. And again, like people think, I mean, I had the feeling too that, oh, I'm going to have to deal with E&O. I'm going to have to deal with this and do that. I mean, it's really not that challenging. Like it's really not. It's more just about kind of putting everything together and really being focused and really kind of going after it. So so that's kind of.
I also think that you're mentioning how some people are like, oh, I got to deal with what if my agent makes a mistake and yada yada yada. But like if you got the right systems and training in place, at the end of the day, that's not something you should really worry about. Now, Don, I love that we have a dynamic. We have a boutique brokerage like Kevin, and we have Don who's with Remax, right? So Don, you kind of had some systems in place because of Remax, right? So I assume that helped. But what are some of the challenges that you're facing, even though you're with, one of the national brands?
Well, I didn't start out as a national brand right out of the gate. I actually started out as an independent broker. And then after being in that a couple of years, I decided to purchase a franchise. The Remax, when you go through their university, doesn't really give you systems and processes. They'll talk to you about what type of model, about your structure, but as far as systems and processes, they don't bring a lot of that.
So what do they bring to the table then?
The branding, some tools, but as far as like, here's how you're going to have your back office and here's your accounting and all that module, that they don't really offer that.
Oh.
The reason I became, a broker is I kept getting kicked out of offices.
Don is a rebel, man. I've spoken to Don. He's a rebel.
They're like, oh, you can't be here anymore. You got to go. And so out of that need, and what happened was I'm both, as many people know, I'm both an appraiser and I'm a broker. So I would come to brokers' offices and say, hey, I'm here to do real estate, but I'm also going to bring my appraisal division with me. And they'd say, okay. And then they would see all the appraisal people and all the things. They're like, hey, other agents would get upset. I said, well, look, I don't complain when another agent's selling Mary Kay or Jafra. So why are you complaining that I'm producing? And so they kept kicking me out. And so I became a broker on my own. What I noticed is that a lot of the difference for me down here in Southern California, we're extremely competitive. And I'm sure many brokerages are, but it's the fees and the structures. And so for me, the ability to own my own broker-owned escrow brought a lot of additional revenue to the plate. There's not a lot of difference between being a mega team and being a broker other than you have additional liability and costs, but it allowed me to have other ancillary services to help generate additional revenues.
So is that the reason you chose to go for the full brokerage rather than just remain a team?
That was one of the major reasons. I could cross-brand all my different services between appraisals, brokerage, escrow, and have multiple services underneath one umbrella, and get a lot of brokers here give away the splits on the agent split, and they make all their money off of escrow in Southern California.
Got it. All right. So then the question that we asked Kevin was, well, what was your biggest challenge? He answered that. How about you, Don? What would you say, something that you would tell others to watch out for as you opened your brokerage?
Well, I mean, obviously you're going to get your E&O insurance, and a lot of people, there's some firms out there that will do it by a per deal basis. So when I started out, it was about $107 to $109 per deal. So you don't think you have to go out there and spend $5,000 or $4,000 purchasing E&O insurance. If you're only going to do, as a new broker, maybe do 30, 40 deals, you can pay as little as $100 per deal. The compliance factor was probably the biggest one, and a lot of your local associations can help that. What do I need to have in my file? Why do I need to have it in my work file? And then also, is there other things that I should be concerned about as a broker that I'm going to be liable for? So your buyer's agent agreement, having that all set up. All those pieces of the puzzle that you need to have to make sure that you're compliant with your state regulation and also keep your liability minimized. All those components, no one tells you, like, here's your book, here's your handbook on how to do all these things. And so for me, I had to figure that out on my own. And that was probably the biggest challenge for me.
Nice. All right. So just a continuation with that before Nick asks the next question. You started a brokerage, and so did Kevin, but what did you start it with? Was it just, did you start it with a few agents? Did you start it because, I know Kevin said he had a lot of online leads, but what was the progression from where you were to decide, hey, I'm going to open a brokerage because of this reason?
Right. I started getting my own consistent amount of deals. So once I got to the point where I was closing, 30 to 40 deals on my own, I said I had the revenue to go ahead and do that to open my own brokerage. But I also used my appraisal income to parlay that, because when I did originally open the RE/MAX branch, there was a lot of expenses and monthly rent, and there were certain months, as when you're growing, that we were negative. We were losing money, and so you need to have enough money set aside. And it was a little scary. There's some months I questioned myself, was this the right decision?
I remember.
I was like, my monthly expenses were in the tune of 40 to 50,000 a month, and if you don't close enough deals, you can find yourself writing out pretty big paychecks fast.
Yeah,
to people.
That's true.
So, and it's kind of scary, but now I'm like, it's beautiful. But yeah, there was a good 6 months period, 6 months where my wife was like, what are you doing to me?
All right, good.
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, that would make total sense. I mean, if you start a brokerage and you hire staff, which leads me to my question about staff, and you need those people in place, and the deals aren't closing. I mean, it's going to come out of pocket, of course. Hey, this goes to both of you, but let's start with Kevin. So, Kevin's like one of the most laid back, like I feel like there's never any stress in his life, like he's so calm all the time. Like whenever I'm talking to Kevin,
you don't know what's going on inside, man. You don't know what's going on in here.
The total opposite of me. So, listen, there's a lot of pieces involved in running a brokerage, right? And you started your own. So, like, what kind of staff do you have in place? What kind of staff did you have to have in place right off the bat? And as you grew, when did you add new staff, and what were the positions that you needed to fill, and how'd you do that?
Yeah. So for me, everything was a progression that started with me, and it's going to end with me if things go bad. So my point is, like, I have something that's going great right now, okay? But we all know the real estate market, it's cyclical, things happen, things change. I know at the end of the day, I can rely back on myself. If I have to get out there and do deals and get in the trenches, let's go, I'll do it, right? But so the way that it kind of progressed was, I was doing deals on my own as an individual agent, okay? Then I got leads, and I was so busy I couldn't do deals. I mean, I couldn't respond to people on time. So I hired an agent. I didn't hire them. I partnered with an agent to work some leads with me, and so on and so forth. Right. So it was always like, I can't do anymore. My cup is full. I can't do any more. So now it's time to bring someone else on that can help me. That these leads are going away. They're not being followed up on anyway. Let's find someone that will work them. And the beauty in that is you can then start to empower people. And that's what's like for me is like the addiction is like the beauty of it is like helping other people, empowering them to help them achieve their goals when I'm like tapped out, right? So I can't do anymore. So then it came to a point where, okay, so now I've got 10 people or 15 people that are working leads for me, right? Let me step out a little. Let me empower, let me step out of the production. Let me step out a little, empower other people even more. Instead of me working the deals, let me give those leads out. And now I'll be like the ISA. Everyone knows what an ISA is, right? The person basically that answers the phone and responds to leads and stuff like that. So it went from me being the agent out in the field to being the ISA now, okay? So I'm taking the leads in and I'm assigning them. And Tristan and I have talked, I learned this one from Tristan, is like, you pre-qualify him, talk to him on the phone, then assign the lead to the agent on your team. So then it became, okay, now I'm the ISA. Now it came to a point where I was too busy doing that. So then naturally it was like, okay, let me hire someone else now. This is like my first staff person who can do it and can help me with it. And the first person I hired, she's like kind of like an assistant too. So she does a lot of the ISA work, and she does like a lot of assistant work and stuff for me too. And she does an amazing job. And so she's sorry. By the way,
yeah, I know you're on Amanda's computer there, so that's okay.
Yeah, I just did a presentation for Amanda Todd's team, so I'm on her computer right now, and she's getting like a million phone calls and text messages. So I'm sorry about that. But so for me, it was just everything happened kind of naturally. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Nick? Like, kind of.
Yeah, just a progression. I think there's a point in which that you need to hire that leverage. Like we just made a hire. He hasn't started yet, but I'm kind of along the lines of Kevin and Tristan. Where like, I really enjoy. I'm still in production, but I really enjoy, lead generating and qualifying the leads and talking to them and nurturing them, because I just want my agents to go out there when a lead is nurtured and just like close it, right? That's what I want. But we're at the point now where like literally hundreds of leads a month coming in. I need someone to help me with that. There's at what point that you need that, right?
Right.
So yeah, that totally makes sense.
The thing with that, Nick, is it didn't, like, I didn't have to go and spend all this money and take a chance.
Right.
Like it was like this, there was no slack on the rope. Does that make sense? So everything that was done, it was done when I'm already tapped out, when I'm already maxed out myself. So I don't have to worry and go spend all this cash and then hope that I get a return on investment. Because
hey, I got a funny story and question. So when I first met Kevin, when did I meet Kevin? Like 2 years ago at NAR.
Yeah.
And Kevin was like not on Facebook.
Kevin didn't have a Facebook account.
He was so against Facebook, didn't want to be bothered. But now I know that you're like really all in on Facebook, right? So like, when did that change, and how's your Facebook lead generation? Because we know that that's taken off.
Oh so, yeah, well, and you always give me a hard time about that, Nick. Even back then,
I do. I gave him the hardest time, and I always kid with people when they get onto Facebook. I'm like, say goodbye to your life at this point. So tell us about how like you decided to jump in and start doing Facebook lead gen, because you weren't on Facebook when you first met.
Right, and now we're crushing it with Facebook leads.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because of Tristan. I mean, he was like, "Dude, you need to get on Facebook. What are you doing?" Right. So for me, it was just it's not a personal sort of interaction type place for me. I mean, I believe you need to do that if you're in production, 100%.
Sure.
I probably should be doing it, but we're using it more as a resource for leads. When I found out you can generate leads through Facebook, I was like, and you can get them for like $2 a lead. I'm like, oh my God, this is like, what am I doing? I need to get on here, right? So now we've really spent a lot of time, energy, and resources focusing on Facebook, and we're generating thousands of leads, and it's an amazing resource. So that's really what kind of why I jumped back into Facebook from like really not doing it at all. And now I feel like we've we're doing things that really not a whole lot of people are doing these days, and it's really interesting. But yeah, so yeah.
So hey, Doug, you want me to repeat the question because that was a very long answer?
Yeah, repeat the question for Don, 'cause it's a good
but I
question.
liked it. So yeah, when did you start to realize at what point that you needed to start bringing more staff on? How did you realize that you needed to do that, and what was the process in which you started hiring?
Okay. So again, it's like the progression. You start out as an individual agent. Your production starts increasing. You need an assistant. And then the assistant that we started out with was like a transaction coordinator and also like my office assistant. And then what happens is then you have your brokerage, and then you start seeing the fact that you need to separate the transaction coordinator from the operations person. And I think the valid point that a lot of people have to understand being a broker, there's a difference between an entrepreneur and an operator. Good salespeople or good agents don't always make good business owners. And so you have to ask yourself when you're going to decide if you're going to be a broker, do I have the operation skill set, or do I need to hire someone who's going to be the operator? So I've met, I've been in, I went through a class of agents that went through the RE/MAX University. And there's one in there, she's an extremely successful agent, top producer. But when it comes to operating her business, she's not passionate about that. She doesn't want to do all the accounting. She doesn't want to do all the manuals and the policies. She likes to produce. So for her, she actually had to find a manager because it started impacting her own production. And so I think your first progression is to hire that individual who can maybe do dual roles as a transaction coordinator and as an office assistant. And then once you get to a certain level is to then split the two. And so now I have an operations manager who's doing all my accounting for me, and I sit down and go over the reports with, and handling the HR policies and the reporting we have to do RE/MAX. And then I have individuals who are just transaction coordinators. And that was my progression.
Well,
Go ahead.
You bring up a great point, Don. I think as we grow, whether it's a team or a brokerage, you bring in employees or staff, and they're doing so much for everybody. Like one person can be doing the job of four, and as you grow, you then start separating that to say, okay, now you're going to do this and you're going to do that because we have enough money to do it, right?
Right, and then also sometimes you'll find the people or your company starts outgrowing that individual's skill set. So the person that I hired originally to be that operations manager, didn't have the accounting skills that we needed today. And so you have to kind of, as your company grows, that person, your business might outgrow that person's skill set. So I had to really, learn that quickly too, because I'm like, wait a minute. I thought my QuickBooks were this, and I got this, and I'm like, and they're like, they didn't have the skill set to understand really the accounting function.
Well, that's a perfect transition into the next question. That's operating a brokerage is a lot of things all in one. It's fun, it's stressful, and there are a lot of pieces. So Don, can you tell me the things that I would need to look for to run a brokerage? Like, tell me what I need if I'm going to run a successful brokerage: staff, tools, insurance. What do I need?
Well, for me, what I have is obviously you have your operations person that's going to handle the accounting function of it to make sure that the commissions are done correctly. But also we want to make sure that we know what we have in the gas tank. So I want to know how many active escrow or active listings we have, how many are in escrow, more importantly, what I can anticipate for our income, and then what we've closed. And so that's really important to me, because if I'm looking at, the bills this month, and I see that we only have, 5 deals closing, if that was the case, I'd be like, wow, we're going to be really negative coming up here. We're going to need some cash infusion. So you need to know what, obviously those numbers. So that's very important to me, those numbers. And then obviously we now have a marketing director. And so we have a marketing director that's handling all the marketing. So not only are marketing for your agents and helping them with their marketing, you're also marketing to get new agents in the door. And so, I think the first thing that I would recommend to anyone is define what type of brokerage you want to be. Are you going to be a flat fee broker? right? Are you going to be the one that's offering, come, work in my office and pay $500 a file? Are you going to be, the mega team broker model, which Kevin and I are more like the mega team broker model, which is now starting to evolve? Are you going to be the traditional broker model? So first you have to define what type of model are you going to be? Are you going to be a hybrid team? But one of the challenges of being a mega team broker, makes it a little harder to recruit some independent agents, because now you're competing against them. They say, well, I don't want to work for a broker that's out there taking listings and working with buyers. And so you have to really define what type of model you want to be before you go out and go into it.
All right. So Kevin, same question to you, man. Can you tell me some of the things that you would need to run a successful brokerage? Like, where do you get your leads from? Do you need, sorry, I know you're on Amanda's computer.
I'm on my computer. Sorry about that.
Do you need leads?
Listen, just hang up on Amanda Todd's phone calls. She doesn't need that. She doesn't need to answer that.
Decline all of the calls.
Tools. What tools do you use to run your team? Insurance. I don't have a brokerage. I don't run a brokerage. But what do you need? What are some of the tools you need in systems?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tracking. So tracking is important. Don mentioned that. Don's like the most organized dude I know. I mean, with tracking, he's really good at it. And I just use I use Google Sheets. So I just have a Google.
You use Google Sheets. I know Don uses Rezio, right?
Yeah, well, we use different processes. So the front end process is like, what's in my pipeline right now? What do I have active pending and what's my close? For that process, we use Google Sheets. We are going to now link that with Gecko Board, so it's upfront and visual for everybody. The next thing we use for our actual transaction management. So you have one for reporting, one for transaction management. So some people use Dotloop, I use Rezio, and that's a way you can track the transaction because you want to be compliant. Is this document done? Is this done? Our days on, if we have to have our reporting done 17 days for buyers' disclosures or what needs to be back and all those things. So we need to manage that. When you're managing, say, 50 to 100 transactions in a given month, who's staying on top of all those tasks? And so Rezio and Dotloop is a way that we can assign different tasks to different individuals and say, did this person do it? And hold them accountable. And then, of course, you're going to need your accounting back end. And some of them integrate. Some use LoanWolf. We use QuickBooks. What's your back end accounting? So do you
do that all yourself, or do you have somebody run that for you? It's kind of dynamic.
Each individual's responsible for a portion. So my operations part of it is for the accounting and the reporting. And then I have a listing coordinator who works with the TCs, and that is the transaction management part of it. But all of it kind of intertwines together, and we can do that through Dotloop or through Rezio. You can assign who's responsible for each task.
All right, Don, I want a high level hierarchy of your team, starting with your staff. Show it to me.
Okay, so I'm currently the CEO, right. But I might get fired. Who knows? They might fire me.
Okay, I'd fire you for sure. But anyway.
Next person loops off into the branch is my operations manager. Underneath my operations manager, there is a listing coordinator, right? And then the TCs. So we have a listing coordinator who's responsible for getting lock boxes on, setting all the appointments up for the agents, ordering the signs, all that busy work that the agent doesn't need to do. And then we have a marketing director of marketing, and that individual is responsible for all the marketing. And then we have a director of seller services, and that works as well. We also have an appraisal department. I'm trying to think what else we have. Appraisal.
Hey, Don, explain the director of seller services for me, because that's an interesting title. I'm just curious what their job is.
Okay, so I'm doing my own listing pipeline. And I kept finding myself not keeping in touch with my clients as much as I should, and not staying on top of my listings as much as I should, because I've been so busy running the brokerage, doing appraisals. And so I found the need to hire a director of seller services who manages my entire listing pipeline, who's looking at, hey, do we need a price reduction on this property? Keeping in contact with the clients one-on-one basis. And then also is responsible for the number of listings. And so that individual has a goal each and every month to say, so we have buyer's agents that are working the buyer's leads, and now we have a director of seller service that's working on the seller leads. And so they're responsible for obtaining a minimum of 25 listings a month to do that.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Kevin, tell me how yours looks, man. What are the integral pieces that are similar to Don's?
There's a lot of moving parts that Don just mentioned, and I don't want to speak for Don, but I can say confidently that he didn't start with all of those things at one time, right?
Are you sure about that?
So I don't want I don't want people getting freaked out. Like if you're thinking about starting a brokerage or something, like you can really you can start with a Google sheet. Anyway, to go back to what your question was, like what are some of the tools? What are some of the things I'm doing? So leads. So think about what your value proposition is as a brokerage. What is it that people want? To me, I think think about the big failure rate in our industry. 87% of agents fail in the first 5 years. Why? In my opinion, the reason it's not because they're not good salespeople, not because they don't want to get out there and do what they're good at, which is help people buy and sell homes. It's because they're not able to generate enough leads. They're not able to generate enough business, drum up enough business to get out there in front of people. So like we've been able to bridge that gap. We all have very similar models in that way, where we provide a value proposition to us as clients, right? So that's one of the big sources for us. So basically online, you can go on Facebook, you can go on Google PPC ads. There's tons of different sources out there. And then being able to create a system. So we have a CRM, like, I know Don has one, everyone has one. So have a CRM. You can be Follow Up Boss, Top Producer, Rizio. I don't know if Rizio is a CRM, but Lion Desk. So you need a place where when you're assigning leads, you can track how you hold your agents accountable. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but one way that's really easy is have a CRM, and when you're assigning leads to them, are they taking notes? Are they keeping track of their clients? And you can see who's doing what, and you can see everything that's going on. And then as a result, hopefully they're converting transactions, and then you need a place to put your transactions. So for us, we have a Google Sheet, and it's basically I'm just looking at it right now. We have on the Google Sheet. Here's some of the things that we list, and these are things that these were some challenges for me, because I'm like, what do I need to post? What do I need to look for? How do I track? What are the things I should track? So the agent's name on the Google Sheet, the property address, the city, zip code, property type, the date the contract was put in, closing date, purchase price. I put in what the GCI is, what's the GCI on that sale, and then I just call it NCI, net commission income. What are we going to make on that transaction? What's the split? And then we also look at the source, but the other thing is I look at inquiry, like on the lead, what the date the lead came in on, what time they came on, what the source was on that lead. So I'm gathering all this information so that it'll help me make educated decisions, better decisions when it's time to spend on other sources. The other thing that I think is really important is trying to keep expenses low, stay nimble.
Wait.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because dude, I know our expenses have been like through the roof sometimes. Yeah. So how do you do that? Because it's easy to say, man. How have you been able to do that?
The thing is, maybe I should rephrase it. Maybe it's not keeping them like low. Yes, you want to keep them low, but keep them short. So try not to commit to something for a long period of time.
All right, that's smart.
So like with leads, for example, yeah, we spend a lot of money, right? But I can turn it off in 6 months once my contract expires, right? So it's not like something I'm committed to for 10 years. The market crashes and I'm screwed, So I just try to keep those costs. I just try to stay flexible, right? So like, we're doing leases. We're not signing like 10-year leases. Try not to. I mean, everyone. I don't want to say that's the wrong thing to do, great. For me, it just gives me the peace of mind where I don't have to worry as much. I know that I've committed to X amount for a short time, and then if things go bad, I can get out. And there's some down negatives with that too, right? But just try to stay flexible. Try to be nimble enough so when things change, you can move quickly. You don't get stuck like people got stuck in 2007 and 2008.
Yeah, I think it's.
But I think we're not asking the real question here. Is what is the best CRM? No, I'm kidding. No, but that kind of answers one of our next questions, was kind of how you stay profitable, right? You got to be flexible with your expenses, like you said, and not lock into agreements that are extended periods of time, and just always be ready for, the next shift in the market.
And the other thing that's important as well is when you're bringing people on, bring talented people on, bring good people on. People say that. Talk to the biggest companies, brokers in the country. We want talent, right? But 87% of agents fail. Where do most of those agents work? Right? So think about, where do most of those agents work? Who has the bulk of those agents? A lot of those models are collecting fees, or doing things like that. So the way we have it set up is we're not a fee-based company. So we need people that are good, that are going to get out there and work, basically be willing to work leads and work hard and grow their own businesses as well. So finding good people is going to help you be profitable, right? So you need to find people that are going to be willing to work hard.
Hey, I got a question, and I'm gonna ask it to Don first, because Don just became a coach for Tom Ferry, which I think is like super cool. So Don, how do you keep your agents motivated? Do you coach them personally? Because now you're a Tom Ferry coach, so I'm wondering, did I hit you up for free coaching? No, how do you keep them motivated?
Well, I think that's a great question, because that's not only to help people and to be in the Tom Ferry circle, but also it's helped me coach my team. And I have sales managers. So each sales manager, the way my team's structured is I have 10 agents under each sales manager. I found it effective that if you have too many agents under one sales, they can't give them the time. So we actually use a lot of the Tom Ferry coaching things that I've learned to bring into our organization and help them, keep them motivated. Again, you can't motivate. I don't think you can go in and say, I can motivate somebody. All I can do is dig and try to uncover what motivates them. What is their why? What difference would they make in their life if they hit these numbers? How can I help them or help you to reach your full potential? And so I kind of flip it. I don't say I'm going to motivate somebody as to how can I help them reach their goals? Because what my goal is and what another person's goal might be completely different. And I would go into individuals, agents, when I was interviewing an agent to recruit them, I'm like, well, you could be doing 36 transactions a year and you could be doing this. And they're like, I don't want that. I'm just happy if I close. I'm a stay-home mom and I want to, take care of my kids. I'm happy with, one deal a month. I'm ecstatic just to make that money and I can stay home with my kids. And so I was like, say what? You only want to do one deal a month? And so I had to take a step back and look at it and say, well, my goals may not be the same as their goals. And my brokerage might not be the fit for that person. And so I had to say, what is our ideal agent that we want on our team or in our company? What really is that person? And then we went after that person instead of trying to hire everybody. Because if you bring somebody in your organization that doesn't fit your style, it's a disaster. Because we're high in technology. We're uploading things and a lot of, using apps, and we're very high in technology. And if you bring an agent in that are not technology, it doesn't work for a company.
I'm going to pause you there because you told me something 2 days ago by text that stuck with me. And that was, it applies to this and to your team, to how you want to run your business. But because we're talking about brokerages, you told me, well, what's your pain point? What are you trying to solve for the agent?
Correct.
Right? And I think that right there, if you start off with that, then you can define your vision, you can define your mission. You can then start from there and see, well, what kind of brokerage do I want to run? What problems do I want to solve with this specific brokerage, right? How am I going to
Right.
approach it? And I thought that was so simple. And it was just a text you sent me. I put it
Yeah.
up on my wall, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's always almost when we start off with every interview with a prospective agent that wants to join our team. It's like, how can I solve their pain? And I ask them, what causes you the most grief when you're doing your job? What's the hardest thing for you? Now, if I can solve it, and we have the systems and the process to help them with that, fantastic. If I don't, I'm like, maybe we're not a good fit for each other. And my goal is not to be like some brokerages out there that have 400, 500, 600 agents. I'm very profitable with 20 agents to help each an agent. If they each can do 3 transactions a month and are committed to that, and I'm very, very successful at 600 transactions a year. I don't need to do 4,000 or 5,000 transactions like some of the big brokerage models do. But I'm not giving away 95% of the commission. That's not my model. So again, it comes to model. If I may, I just kind of we're talking about systems and processes. If I share my screen, can I share my screen real quick?
No. Yes, of course. Good.
So I'm just going to show you Resio real quick so you can kind of see what it is. So this is I can go in there and create a work template. Can you see it?
Not yet. Almost there. There it is. We can see it.
Okay. So this is a template. So this is actually the template. So I can create in Resio every step of the process. So fully execute agreement, that gets assigned to the TC. Counteroffers, addendums, additional agent forms, assigned to buyers, Resio task. Invite agent to the group or social media pages goes to the marketing director. Social media new escrow goes to the marketing director. And you can see on here the due date on every single one of these tasks. Contact the lender, due on contract date. Phone call and email TC introduction and give the copy of the purchase agreement.
Don, your audio is a little staticky.
Okay, is that better? Is that better?
Yeah, much
okay.
better.
So you can see on this, I can set every single task that needs to be done in that particular transaction, assign a due date, and assign the person to do it. This is my transaction management system, similar to .loop. But as a mega team, you could use the same thing. You have everything that you need to do. AVID needs to be in by 17 days after contract. So has it been done? Who's responsible for that task? And so this whole system, wire fraud advisory, REMAX disclosure, NHD, home inspection, request for repairs, all the items that happen in transaction are here and assigned with a due date for every transaction. That's a great back-end system for your
Don,
mm-hmm.
Can I pay you to do that for me?
Certainly. Expensive. But yeah, that's just to give someone an idea out there in the audience what that system looks like and all the tasks that a broker has to stay on top of. So if you imagine if you start scaling and now you're doing 50 transactions a month or 100, trying to keep on top of all those items and having an effective system that is you can hold someone accountable to, that helps out in your operations and also in your hiring process.
Do you have somebody run this for you?
Again, it's dynamic. So everyone's involved from the transaction coordinator to the marketing director to the agent. Everyone has an assigned duty. So the agent needs to know, they know what they need to do. The transaction coordinator knows what they need to do. The marketing director knows what they need to send out and what date they do it. So each and every day when that individual in our team logs on, and our company logs on, they'll have all their tasks that they need to do for the day.
Got it. Do you use this specific tool, this screenshot to as part of the recruiting as well, or no?
We talk about that. Obviously, that's one of the benefits when you join our team is that we have the Resio, our transaction management system, so the agent can operate effectively from when they're on vacation or they're at their house, not have to come in the office for work while it's online. They can view their documents, and they can understand what the transaction coordinator is going to do for them and what they're not going to do and what they're going to get from our marketing department. So you can see the task that this is going to happen.
Don, question from the audience. You got Charnel Smith is asking, does Resio give you a way to keep the actual docs in the system?
Absolutely.
Electronic signatures as well?
Yeah, it actually integrates with ZipLogic and MLS. Okay. So it integrates, and I know .loop does too. So you can actually go into a transaction, and then you can see all the documents in there. It's running a little slow because I'm sharing my screen. So let me just go into one that I know I'm familiar with. So I can click on this transaction. It has all my dates, my closing date. It has all my dates for my documents when my contingency periods. So I don't have to say, did you get a release of contingencies? Like, no, I forgot about it. Well, no, you didn't, because it was given to you as a task. And so I can go into my documents and I can set it by folders. And so you can see, I can see any particular document if I want to, buyer's inspection advisory. I can go in there and see all the documents anywhere, lifetime, get copies of them. You can get digital signatures, whatever you want to do. And so it keeps all my documents online, all my tasks, keeps my notes, my details, and my dates are going to do. And I can invite different members to it. So I can actually invite the homeowner, the seller, and I can see all my dates and everything I want to see. Listing, this is a listing date, acceptance dates, closing date. So all those items.
Nice.
What else? And then it has, some, I'm not, pitching for resale. You can use .loop, and I know there's a couple agent broker or something. There's a couple different ones, but you need to have one of these. And you can see you can sign the documents, but you need to have a back-end system. Otherwise, you're going to go nuts as the broker. Are you compliant? Are you not compliant? And then also I have the activity. So if the BRE ever walks in, the state of California walks in my office, I can say, nah, here's when this was done, here's was that done. So it keeps all my dates and show that we did things on time.
Cool. All right, Kevin, back to the question that Nick asked. Nick, what was the question? I forgot it.
Let me just check. Hold on. How do I
Try to stop share. There
we go. Okay. Yeah, so Kevin, keep your team motivated. What do you do well, I remember I was on a call with Kevin's office. I know Kevin does, is it weekly or daily calls?
We do weekly calls.
Yeah, weekly calls. So I did a 30-minute call with his office about how I'm generating leads on Craigslist. So that was kind of cool. So I know you keep him motivated with phone calls and new ideas, but what are some other things you do to keep him motivated?
We use so we do the meeting. We do a weekly call. It's a 30-minute call. We bring great people like Nick. We've had Dawn on a couple of times, Tristan. So we try to bring people in and talk about different things.
What's my nickname? They have a nickname for me. What's my nickname, Kevin?
Oh, the Sergeant. Sergeant Don, because every time he's on, like drilling him, like drill sergeant style. Like, what are you guys doing about this?
I could see that.
Oh, Sergeant Don.
Sergeant Don.
Yeah, Sergeant Don. So we do a call every week.
Wait, did Kevin freeze?
He froze.
He froze up.
He froze up.
All right, Kevin, you froze, man.
Well, I'll talk about what we do. So what we do is
Don, why don't you talk about what Kevin does?
Well, yeah. So what we do is we set a theme for every quarter. So the quarter, this quarter, and we hit our goals. Then if we hit our goals for this quarter, July, August, September, I'm taking everyone on a Baja cruise. And so we know what our goal is.
That's awesome.
And we set a reward. And then we have a Tuesday morning meeting. We try to limit to an hour. We talk about, what the numbers are. Talk about something. We have a person come in, whether it's title, escrow, training, and then we also have a one-on-one. Each agent has a one-on-one per week, half-hour session with their sales manager, and they talk about helping them individually. And so we talk about, what their personal goals are. They want to share with us what their business goals are. And we like to see, hey, they're on track. Do you need more training on, being on the phone and lead conversion? What are things that are causing them pain? To why they're not hitting their numbers? Or, sometimes they're doing a great job and we don't have to. So, that way it has accountability each and every week for half an hour. Now, some people love it. They love the accountability. They love the growth. We have agents that thrive. And again, some people don't want to be held accountable. They're being a real estate agent to them is not a career. It's not a job. It's a hobby. And in our company, if you want to work here, it's a job and a career. And if you want a hobby, then, go see the broker down the street.
That's a great point. All right, last question then. We're going to start with Kevin. Kevin, nice to have you back.
Sorry about that.
You switched places on my screen now.
I'm going to blame Amanda Todd for this. It's her computer.
Good idea. All right, last question, guys. We're going to go to Kevin first. And I think this is the most important question. I know that running your own brokerage and teams, it's challenging. Everything is challenging, but the biggest challenge I see in teams and brokerages is recruiting. That's all I hear from both of you every time I call you. When I talk to both of you, it's like, oh, well, I'm recruiting this. How do you recruit over here? How do you do? Well, tell me, Kevin, let's start with you. What are the top 3 places to find the best recruits?
Well, within your market, obviously, find agents that you think would be a good fit. Find agents, like for us, we're doing a lot of things with technology. So if you find you see people out there that are using technology, that are on Facebook, that are generating leads, that understand what it is that you're doing as a company that you think that you could benefit them, reach out to those people. There's obviously other ways. I mean, we've used Craigslist, we've used Indeed, there's ZipRecruiter, there's we have our website, where if you go to our site, markersf.com, you can click on the careers page and you can see what we've created there, which is top 10 reasons why you join our company. Then we have testimonials from agents. We also use custom audiences. So for example, when somebody joins our company, we have a custom audience for all the agents in our market. And we even have custom audiences for brokerages, depending on how many they have. Then, so we bring an agent on, we'll then create an ad or some sort of a video or like something about them, promoting them, and we blast it out. We blast it out to all the agents in our marketplace.
I remember you told me that you were using, I don't know if it was you, were you using BombBomb?
Yeah. BombBomb, okay, so here's one. So you can use BombBomb, for example. You send out a mass email, you can see how many times people click on those emails if you're sending out to recruits. It's the same thing that you do with leads and clients. So you send a mass email, you can see how many times people are clicking. We've had videos that I've sent out where somebody's clicked like 39 times in like 30 minutes.
Wow.
So it's like they probably have some small interest in what you have to say, right? So then you can reach out and talk to them and just find out a little bit about them. And so yeah, that's a really great way.
That was weird. Whatever. Another little sound. Don, same question to you, buddy. Where do you find these talented people? Because I know you have a few amazing people on your team.
Well, Facebook is huge for us. We do Facebook recruiting. So we were able to go to our state.
Wiggle your headset. There.
Is that better? Can you hear it? Did I lose my volume?
No, it's staticky. It's still staticky.
Oh, okay. Is it better now?
There it is.
So we use Facebook a lot, so we can go in there and target audience, the agents. We can go to our state of California, get a download of all of the agents. So those are active. But we've been really successful on recruiting new agents, brand new agents who aren't even licensed, and making them an assistant and then converting them to a real estate agent. And in fact, my most successful agents that I have, with the exception of maybe 2, have all been from people that we just found that are individuals, whether a bartender or whether they're working in a restaurant as a hostess or something, that have or exert the desire, the grit, and the personality to go out there. We do a lot of DISC profile tests, and we found out, obviously the ones that are expressive and the ones that are drivers have been more successful than the amiables or the analyticals. And so we really look at the individual first, and then do they have the grit? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to grit.
So you look for integrity first, right? I know I've talked to you about this before. You look for integrity and character, then you look for, do they have that desire? Do they have that grit, right?
Yeah, especially when you're working online leads like Kevin and I are. If you get somebody who's afraid of the phone or that doesn't want to pick up the phone and make those follow-up calls, they're not very successful in their lead conversion. And so having the right individual, so Facebook and then my own individual agents, they are excellent recruiters. When they're working a transaction and they find out their agent's not happy with their brokerage, or they ask how they're being so successful, I say, hey, Megan, I see you're doing, 36 transactions already in the first 6 months of the year. How do you do it? And she talks about, the amazing team we have over here, the support, the lead gen systems. So that's an automatic recruitment. So between Facebook and actually the agents themselves, this is my top 2. Because I found out for my own individual self, me trying to go out and call agents all day long that are working at other brokerages and say, hey, I want to come sit have a cup of coffee with you. Hey, come over to my brokerage. Number one, I feel like I don't want to rob my other fellow competitor brokers of their team members on purpose. I don't want to go out there and intently do it. Now, if they're unhappy with that brokerage and they're not getting what they want and they come and talk to me, then by all means, all day long, come to me. But through Facebook and through my own agents, I've been successful in getting good agents recruited.
Awesome. Guys, great addition. Nick, any questions you want to add at the end? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I have a question. So, what are your guys' take on hiring really seasoned agents to join your team, right? Or newer agents, right? Because what I've heard is you hire a really, Don, your brokerage as a whole is one thing, but your team is another, right? So maybe this is a question for Don specifically, but when you're hiring agents for your specific team, do you prefer to hire seasoned ones or new ones? Because the seasoned ones, they've got their way, right? Like, it's kind of hard to untrain them to do it your way, in a sense. So how do you hire? What I'm asking is, which direction do you think we should go in? Like, the new ones that you can kind of train to adapt your style, or do you want the seasoned ones that are kind of crushing it already, to bring in to elevate, your brand? What do you think the way to go is on that?
Newer ones are much easier for me than seasoned ones. Seasoned ones typically don't understand a lot of the technology. In fact, a lot of seasoned agents are coming to me saying, I don't know where my business went. I don't know where my business went. Better? That better?
Yeah, much better. You sound like Darth Vader. Yes.
Darth Vader. So a lot of seasoned agents are coming to me and they're saying, hey, I've been a successful agent for 10, 15 years. I don't know where my business went. Right? They don't know where their business went, and they don't have a plan. And the thing is that they're still doing the old methodologies that they did 20 years ago. And I said, well, where are the clients at? I don't know. I'm online and at open houses. You don't want to do open houses, and you're not very technologically savvy on Facebook and an online industry. And so they're finding themselves, their business pipeline is dried up as a result. And so a lot of the seasoned agents that are coming to me, if they don't have that technological skill set or are unwilling to make that shift, it's very hard to get them incorporated. And I think that a lot of agents that are coming in that are new with 1 or 2 years experience, they're crushing it because they understand technology. And where the agents, and I don't want to pick on age, my birthday's Wednesday, so I'll be 49. Holy crap.
Just kidding.
49, holy crap, 50.
Great for your age, Don. What
Thanks.
What moisturizer are you using? We just want to know.
Well, I'm just tan because I came back from 120-degree heat out of the desert. But the fact of the matter is that I've been able to adapt to the technology. And if I can't, I'll hire somebody to do it. Like, I'm struggling with Gecko Board. And I'm like, screw this. I'm like, I just, delegate it. I'm like, your new job is to figure out Gecko Board, and this is the way I want it to look. And so if you can't bring yourself up to that technology speed, you need to be able to resource that out and delegate that.
I think one thing on that, and I agree with Don, it really comes down to the type of brokerage that you're operating. So like with Don and I, we're doing a lot of online stuff. We need people that understand technology in order to be successful in our model. If your model is something else, then I think it's a matter of finding the agents that would fit best into your model. And for me, it's we've had a lot of success with new agents as well, and we've had success with seasoned, sort of like, I guess you could say, older agents too. And I think what it comes down to is really having like a spirit, having like a spirit that's like willing to get out there, willing to go, willing to be successful. And you can have that at any age. You can have that at any point in your career. And so that's really what I look for, is someone that's like got a drive, that wants to be successful, and who's willing to learn and willing to share. And there's 3 things that we look for in a person, and I hope I don't forget them, because I say it all the time. I hope I don't forget. So the first one is wants someone to work hard, hardworking person, someone who's nice, and someone who's willing to share. Those are the 3 things that we look for in a person. And you can be a seasoned agent, you can be a new agent. It doesn't, to me, those are the 3 things that I look for. someone who's willing to work hard, someone who's nice, and someone who's willing to share.
Amanda doesn't need to take that call.
Decline. So those are the three things, and that's what I look for. We've been fortunate to find people that have kind of followed that.
I just wanted to add to that too, because I feel like the newer agents are if you're running a team specifically, like we brought on a new agent who was with another brokerage for 14 months and she didn't close a single deal. She's 25. They gave her a mentor who was like 70, right? And there's nothing wrong with 70-year-old agents. Some of them, like my mother, are very tech savvy, but some of them aren't, and they're stuck in their ways. Her CRM was a Rolodex, and while it works for some people, it doesn't work for the newer generation, the younger generation. So she came to us, and her goal was $3 million and 12 deals. And she's done 1.6 and 7 deals. And she was with another agency and did nothing for 14 months. So I really feel like they need the guidance that, their generation is craving. You know what I mean? And it's technology. And I think that really helped her a lot. So,
that's a great point. Don, one question from the audience. Do you have to buy Rezio for every single agent on the team or on the brokerage?
No, it's a per person, per agent cost.
All right.
And so you can buy it for as little as one person up to, as many people as you need.
Nice. And where did you get your t-shirt with 2 pockets?
Oh, this is a golf shirt. This is, who is this? This is,
I never seen 2 pockets.
Don, is that so you put one golf ball here and one golf ball here?
I won't go there, but
all right. No. We went too far into this. Right?
Oh my gosh! Wait, we can edit that out, right?
All right,
but anyhow, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Care.